This video will show you some of the many things the Stoics taught in a way that is clear and useful. As the Stoics say, living in line with your best nature is what the good life means. Some people say that there is no room between you and the best version of yourself, the person you want to be. Thoughts, fears, and problems can't stop you. You have no limits. Without limits, I challenge you to watch the video all the way through. I am sure that by the end, you will know exactly what the Stoics mean by good life, and you will be able to follow their lead if you want to. But what does Stoicism mean? It is an old philosophy, and its ideas were talked about and lived by people long before Jesus came into the world. To give you an idea, my friend, one of the main ideas behind Stoicism is that logic and reason are good ways to understand the world and find answers to life's problems. The Stoics thought that there was a natural order to the world, and that this order could be understood and accepted through reason. Stoicism also sees virtue as a way to find happiness. The Stoics believe that virtue is a set of traits that must be developed and used in all aspects of life, including justice, courage, wisdom, and moderation. Virtue is seen as an end in itself, not a way to get to other things. Another thing that makes someone stoic is their willingness to accept fate and the fact that things change over time. Stoics thought that life is always changing and that how we deal with these changes is what important. They said we should focus on what we can control and accept what we can't change. Last but not least, Stoicism stresses how important society and social duty are. According to the Stoics, you can be good not only by yourself, but also by working with other people and society. They thought that everyone had a moral duty to treat others with respect, and that we should all work for the common good. In a nutshell, Stoicism is a philosophy that emphasizes reason, virtue, accepting fate, and community as means to wisdom and inner calm in the face of life's difficulties. Stoicism is a way of thinking that can be used in many areas of life, from personal to professional to social. Because of this, it has had a big impact on Western society and philosophy over the years. I'll give you a little task if you're new. You're no longer just another person walking through the crowd. Get ready to change and grow. One of the founders of Stoicism was Zeno of Citium. A rich trader from the city of Citium in Cyprus. After seeing that his ship had sunk and all of his things were on board, he went to Athens, which was in ancient Greece. People in ancient times thought that Athens was the smartest city in the world, and maybe even in all of history. The philosophy of Socrates and then Crates was introduced to Zeno of Citium there. These things changed Zeno's life in every way. It makes sense that Zeno would start the Stoic school of philosophy after hearing Socrates' lessons. This school lasted for about 300 years. The school as an entity no longer exists, but the Stoic principles live on and are still useful today, 2,000 years later. Remember that the most important minds in the history of Stoic ideas lived in Rome around 150 AD. They were Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius. Stoicism had a big impact on Christianity itself. You can use Stoicism as a way of life. Even though the word operating system is used in jest, we can think of Stoicism as a moral guide for life, since we are not computers, and our world is more complicated than the logic that machines use. When you read or hear the word philosophy, your mind might be getting ready to swallow something hard to digest because you think it will be dull, academic, and not useful in any way. Understanding the beginning of the universe and other questions that don't seem to have an answer are just a few of the things that you have to worry about. On top of that, you have all the worries and things that you need to do in your daily life, like working, taking care of your family, telling the government about your income, paying bills, and so on. Do I have it right? In this way, though, Stoic ideas are different from the common view that philosophy is hard to understand and only for smart people. On the contrary, Stoicism was made by regular people for regular people. In this list, we have Cicero, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius, who was ruler of Rome for almost 20 years and is known as one of the best leaders of the Old Kingdom. One of the people who helped start the United States of America was George Washington. He is thought to be one of the best leaders and wisest people in history. Nelson Mandela was locked up for 27 years after ending apartheid. Elon Musk is the genius behind companies like SpaceX and Tesla that are changing the world. Along with Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, President Franklin Roosevelt, and many other famous people, this list could go on and on. Aside from being successful and traveling, they all use Stoicism as a way of life or philosophy. Now, let's talk about some of the most important ideas in Stoicism. 1. 2 kinds of control. Pay attention to what you can manage. The dichotomy of control is one of the most straightforward Stoic ideas to grasp. This idea is based on the idea that we can control some things, but not others. You only need to worry about the things you can control when you put everything you do into these 2 groups, realizing that you have no control over 99% of the world's events. To give you an example, Epictetus said, "The main task in life is just this, to identify and separate the issues so that I can tell myself clearly which are external, out of my control, and which have to do with actions that I do control. Where should I look for good and evil? Not to things that are outside of my control, but to the choices that I have." The Stoics are very smart about realizing that everything is either outside of or within their control. Epictetus tells us what the dichotomy of control means by saying that we have control over some things, like our thoughts, desires, and actions that are purely personal. On the other hand, we don't have control over things like our bodies, property, health, money, status, or image. Epictetus says that we don't have control over our bodies, which makes it very hard to understand. But you're probably thinking, "But I do have control over my body. It's my body. I can go to the gym, follow a good diet, take care of my general health, eat right, exercise, meditate. All of that is under my control and affects my fitness." And you're right, you do have control over your choices, and those choices will undoubtedly have an effect on the outcome in some way. You are responsible for what you say, but not for what other people understand. Similarly, you are not fully responsible for how your efforts to shape your body turn out. Think about this quote from Epictetus to better understand what it means. "I must die. If it is now, then I will die now. If it is later, then I will have lunch now, since it is lunchtime, and dying I will deal with later." This quote really shows that he had no control over death, but he did have control over lunch. He had no control over death, so he had to worry about what to eat for lunch. No matter how well you take care of your body, you could still get cancer, a heart attack, age faster than you should, or even worse, you would die. You can't stay alive forever. Know that the thoughts you think and the number of vitamins you take each day don't matter. Neither does the amount of exercise you do or the quality of the food you eat. We have no control over what will happen, but we can make choices that might lessen the bad effects of some things that could happen. This is exactly why the Stoics say we shouldn't worry or feel about what will happen. Instead, they say we should focus on our choices and only what we can control. Picture yourself deeply involved in a video game. You are playing on the wrong screen if you don't get the idea behind this dichotomy of control. Controlling the unpredictable is all you can do, but you're looking at the wrong screen. There's no game going on, and you're not even controlling your figure. And when you understand that you can't change the outside world, like the weather, what other people think of you, or even your own health. You stop focusing so much on it 99% of the time. Pay attention to your 1%. That's where your power lies. Remember that you have control over things like your thoughts, feelings, goals, and how you react to the world around you. Although you can't change the weather, you can control how you feel about it. The lies people tell you are out of your control, but you can choose how to respond to them. No matter what you look like, people will lie to you. This is one way that you can't control your image. Other people will lie to you even if you're a good person. But they say those lies, and you decide, it's just a lie. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm going to keep acting in accordance with the good that I know I have to do, and that's my character. The archer is a great example that the Stoics used. The best way for a shooter to get ready is to train every day with the best bow and shot. The wind and the target's movement are out of his control once he lets go of the shot. What this means in real life is that you don't need to worry about how that job interview goes, because it's not up to you alone. The person interviewing you might have been in a bad mood, or someone with more experience might be looking for the same job as you. In this case, the answer might not be yes. You should have been more concerned with your technical preparation, choosing your professional qualifications, and smartly planning your strategy before the interview. That way, on the day of the interview, you'll have a better chance of getting that job, getting into that dream college, giving that lecture, and many other things you can do if you really want to. What other people think of our work or our skills and abilities is out of our control, but a lot of people get mentally ill because they worry about what other people think. Not being rude, being nice, and not being absent are things we can control. We can't change what they think of us other than that. 2. Love your fate, or amor fati. It's not just the Stoics who think that things that can't be managed should be accepted. The phrase was made up by Nietzsche, who was one of the most important thinkers in history. Amor fati is how I describe how great people are. To not want anything different from what is, not in the past, not in the future, and not for all time. To not only get through what needs to be done, but to love it. Love of fate, or amor fati, means learning to accept everything that happens in life, even the bad things. As much as we try, we can't always control fate. Today, we have control over what we do, but things we can't change, like other people's actions, sickness, or events in the outside world, could ruin our plans or the result we want. When we expect something to happen and it doesn't, we get angry at life. In fact, Dr. Fred Laskin of Stanford University says that life tells you no when you want it to say yes. That person used to love me, but now I don't want them to. Someone I wanted to love me didn't love me. I got a no. I wanted my partner to love me and stay with me, but he didn't. My partner told me no when I asked him to be true to me. We should be able to accept that life doesn't have to go the way we want it to, that it can say no when it wants to, and then be able to move on with our lives without any bias. This is what amor fati is all about. That's also amor fati, which means not having any biases about things. You don't have to accept it passively. You have to be ready to give what comes next a chance. In that, you can accept your fate and love it. In more everyday language, it means fully accepting what might happen. It is said that we should accept whatever happens to us. Because you can never control what will happen, you say, I accept it, when bad things occur. You can choose how to deal with it, though. It would be hard to explain the Stoic virtues, a philosophy that grew over more than 2,000 years, in a single video. However, that doesn't mean we won't talk about the main ideas that support Stoicism. I hope that the lessons you've learned so far have sparked your interest and been the first step toward a better understanding of Stoic philosophy. I'm going to talk about the 4 Stoic virtues now. In fact, the Stoics took on the four basic virtues of Greek philosophy. You may have already heard of these four virtues in the teachings of the Catholic Church. The Church of Rome first came up with the idea from Plato's works, and St. Ambrose of Milan, St. Augustine of Hippo, and St. Thomas Aquinas all built on it. As rules or laws, the virtues serve as a spiritual guide. Justice, courage, temperance, and wisdom are the four virtues. Know that for the Stoics, these four cardinal virtues were like a moral code. If they weren't followed, it would be the same as giving up on the main goal of their life, which is to achieve the good life. The Stoic goal of life is to live in harmony with nature. This is what the good life is. It's important that you understand what the Stoics mean by the good life before we move on with our studies. All of ancient Greece's philosophy schools agreed that eudaimonia was the most important thing in life. Think of it as the highest level of happiness or satisfaction that people can reach. A successful, high and harmonious life is what is meant by the term good life. The Stoics gave us a lot of useful advice on how to live a good life. Let's look at how the Stoics put it. To live in line with nature is the goal of life. Stoicism's main idea was to live in harmony with nature. But this phrase needs more explanation because it leaves us wondering what it really means. Epictetus said, "What is man? A rational animal that is subject to death." This makes us wonder what makes us different from wild animals with our rational side. And where else besides sheep and other animals like them? Do not act like a beast, or you will kill the man in you and not reach your full potential. Don't behave like a sheep, or the man inside you will die. How should we behave like sheep? When we act based on our feelings or emotions, or when our actions are random, offensive, or stupid, we are not becoming sheep. What have we destroyed? The power of reason. When we do things that are mean, hurtful, angry, and rude, we don't turn into wild animals. People are animals that can think and reason. This is what makes us different from sheep and wild animals. In good and bad ways, we are different from every other species on Earth. Our intelligence, our social and mental abilities are at the heart. To live in harmony with nature means to act logically like a person and not randomly or based on strong feelings and wants like a beast. To put it another way, we should always use our natural ability to think when we do something. We will live in harmony with nature and act like humans should if we use our minds. Let's talk about the four Stoic virtues again. Cicero, Rome's best speaker, used the phrase summum bonum, which means the greatest good in Latin. What should we strive for in this life? What is the best good? St. Thomas thought that virtue was the way. They said that every situation we face in life, even ones that are painful or scary, is a chance to act in a good way. They thought that if we were good, anything could happen, no matter how important, like love, happiness, success, respect, character, and happiness. Cicero said that a good person doesn't need anything else to live a good life. That makes sense to you. I know you still want to know, what exactly is virtue? As we've already said, the Stoics thought there were four main virtues: justice, temperance, wisdom, and courage. Let us look at each one. Good sense. Knowing what is right and wrong and being able to see how things work in the world is what wisdom is. For the Stoics, all other virtues are built on wisdom. This is because wisdom tells us how to act in a way that makes sense with reason and the world around us. The Stoics thought that learning was the most important thing you could do to make smart choices. This means that you should learn from your mistakes, think about what you did, and be open to changing your mind. Stoic wisdom can be used in everyday life, like when you're having a tough time at work. Instead of moving without thinking, take some time to study, think, and consider what could be done. you'll make choices that are smarter and work better. Consider wisdom as the navigation system for your life. You can follow better tracks if it is better tuned and set up. For the Stoics, being wise also means being able to tell the difference between what is important and what is not, and acting logically. To do this, you need to be able to judge things based on facts and data, not just your gut or your feelings. At this point in time, fact and data focus is not just a passing fad in business management, it is a way of creating wisdom. William Shakespeare said, "The fool thinks he is wise, but the wise man knows he is a fool." Have courage. For the Stoics, courage means being able to follow your senses even when things are bad or dangerous. The word reason isn't just there by chance. The Stoics thought that being brave meant taking chances that made sense and were important for us to have a good effect and do the right thing, just as they supported reason as one of the greatest human abilities. Because we are logical, we can face the challenges of life with determination, guided by a higher purpose rather than being pushed by negative emotions like fear or anger. When we talk about courage, we're not just talking about physical bravery. Moral courage means doing the right thing in every situation without fear or nervousness getting in the way. The Stoics thought that courage meant being able to face problems with determination, not fear. Think about times when you had to face the unknown, like when you started a new job, broke up with someone, or said sorry. There's a lot of courage in all of these. Today, Stoic courage shows up when you face your fears, like public speaking, or when you take action to get past problems, like starting a new project in your life, even though you don't know what will happen. Courage is like the engine that keeps a car moving forward, even when there are problems. Being brave is the most important trait a person can have because it makes all the other traits possible. Think about Aristotle. Lack of anger. Being able to control your emotions and wants and act in a way that is moral and makes sense is called temperance or balance. It is also called self-control and self-mastery. The Stoics believe that temperance is an important trait that helps us live in harmony with nature and find inner peace by avoiding any excess or lack in our daily lives. The Stoics thought that self-control was very important for staying away from extremes. Without getting carried away by fleeting feelings, it is about controlling wants and emotions. By controlling our urges to spend, staying away from too much food and drink, or striking a healthy balance between work and play, temperance can be practiced in our daily lives. It keeps our lives in order and keeps us from having doubts later on. The brakes on a car keep it under control and stop it from going too fast, which is analogous to temperance. You have power over your mind, not over external events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius said, "Fair play." Being able to treat everyone equally and fairly with respect is a trait of justice. The Stoics believe that justice is the most important virtue because it helps us act in a decent way and treat everyone with respect. The Stoics thought that being kind and respectful to others was an important part of having a good life. It is right to treat everyone the same and be fair. Having a sense of justice is a basic human need, and you can't change people's minds for the better if they think you are unfair. The idea of Stoic justice says that you should be able to make choices based on ethics and reason, not on bias or self-interest. In today's world, this means being moral in all of your relationships, at work, with your family, and in the community. Being honest, caring about other people's rights, and looking for truth and equality are all parts of this. Like the steering wheel that keeps a car going, fairness is important. When there is no justice, courage is weak. Mr. Benjamin Franklin. The four virtues can be the foundation and guide for your life once you understand them. The rise and power of social media, influencer marketing, and other tricks used to trick people is one reason why you need this strong base in your life right now. To the masses, and try to convince you that you are just another alienated person without free will. When you are in today's society and see things that seem to go against moral and ethical ideas that are important to your survival and physical and mental health, the four virtues give you a strong base that you can use to find the right path. When someone tries to get you to do something, distract you, or lure you into something that might not be good for you, you can now look at the foundation you are building, the Stoic foundation of the four virtues, and ask yourself, is that wise? Does it take courage? Is it fair? Is it really important? Is it telling the truth? That, my friend, is the most important thing you can do to live a good life. At this point, you may be asking yourself, are my actions right now in line with the four virtues? Know that this will become a part of your personality over time and show up in the way you act and feel. If you do these basic things every day, you will be amazed at how much better your life and relationships with others will be. In short, the Stoic view of the four virtues is a little different from what you might have expected. Justice will help you understand what is good, bad, within our reach, and what is not. Temperance will help you deal with discomfort, pain, and fear. And courage is the most important of the virtues because it includes justice, fairness, fair dealing, kindness, and equality. Now is the time for you, my friend, to start using the four Stoic virtues in harmony and start molding your character. As we've already talked about, the four virtues are without a doubt important for building a good life. For four, memento mori, facing death with peace of mind. The Latin phrase memento mori means remember that you are mortal. It comes from Stoic philosophy and means to remember that you are mortal. One of the main ideas of the Stoics is that every person needs to understand that life is temporary and death is inevitable. Stoic philosophy is based on the idea that we can live a more worthwhile, good, and peaceful life if we face our own death. The Stoics believe that thinking about death is not a depressing activity, but rather a good way to develop wisdom, courage, and tranquility. We must have the courage to live our lives with a clear sense of what is most important, rather than letting worry or fear of death consume us. We are encouraged to think about how to make the most of the time we have. Stoicism stresses how important it is to live by our beliefs and virtues, instead of letting pointless worries take over our lives. The practice of memento mori is a steady warning that our lives are short and that we should appreciate every moment and strive for moral greatness and personal growth. Today, the use of memento mori can be very important in a world full of chaos, the never-ending chase of financial success, and constant distractions. Stoic philosophy gives us a point of reference to keep our calm. By thinking about how short our lives are, we are pushed to put the things that are truly important in them at the top of our list of priorities. This might make us rethink the choices we've made and put more emphasis on important things like relationships, morals, and giving back to society. Living with the awareness that life is short helps us deal with problems in a strong way, instead of letting them bring us down. We can work on getting the courage to face them head-on and keep going. Appreciation of the present. The keepsake helps us remember to enjoy the present. We never know how much time we have left, so we should be thankful for the little things in life and enjoy them. Material detachment. Stoicism also teaches us not to get too connected to material things because they are transient. This doesn't mean turning away from wealth, but it does mean keeping a good balance between the spiritual and the material. As the Stoics say, a life well lived is one that is lived with ethics. No matter how long we have, we can leave a good memory by showing understanding, sympathy, and justice. In short, memento mori in Stoicism tells us that death is inevitable for everyone, no matter where they are in life. As a result, rather than being afraid of it, we can use it as a steady warning to live with integrity, courage, and virtue. This helps us give our lives more direction and deal with the problems we face in life with calm and drive. 5. What good and bad really mean. First, know that the difference between good and bad is one of the most important things that keeps us alive. We need to find our way around and give things meaning in order to survive. To do this, we depend on shared universal views, like the difference between good and bad. We are not limited in what we can look at like wild animals are. Animals don't care about the difference between good and bad because they are involved in their surroundings and act based on their feelings. Most of the time, the way an animal acts is special to its species. We, on the other hand, don't live in a set place, so feelings don't really help us. Because that's how we are. We have to judge things as good or bad. Because of how our ancestors lived, we have to be able to tell the difference between good and evil in order to survive. While good and evil are ideas, they are understood and described in different ways, depending on how we see the world. They're called ideas because they're about how to judge an observation, not the observation itself. Culture, faith, and philosophy all try to define good and bad from their own unique points of view, which is why there are so many different views. From a Stoic's point of view, nature, physis, gives us the idea of what is good. Goodness is a state of perfection, so it can't be gained over time. It's either there or it's not. When we live in a good way, we experience the good. When we say good or good, we mean something with a spiritual or material value, something useful, a skill that is valued, a virtue, or a goal that is wanted. In general, the good refers to all of the things that are positively judged as being worthwhile of aiming for. Ethically, the idea of what is good is connected to both the things we do and choose, and the ends and goals we try to reach with those things. Now, we all look for good in some way. The debate is about figuring out what it is made of. From past times to now, the thought of what is good has been the most important thing. But some experts say that there isn't a single agreed-upon way to use the word good. Some people think that what's good is about who we are, our nature or core. Some people think that both good and evil are made by people and don't exist in nature as real, physical things. To put it another way, our ideas. Some people also think that the idea of what is good relies on the goal and the point of view from which it is seen. Logic positivism, for instance, says that the ideas of good and bad can't be described. They're just the thoughts and emotions of the person making the moral decision. While ethical descriptivism says that these words are not emotional but necessary, and that whoever says them is fulfilling a task or responsibility in their heart. Evil, malum, is the idea of what is opposite to good, bonum. We need the idea of evil to understand and react to horrible things that happen, like genocides, mass murder, rape, torture, and more. This is because the idea of evil is the only way to understand the moral importance of these actions and the people who do them. In a broad sense, the word evil refers to any action or trait that isn't right, which causes harm or pain, whether it's physical, mental, moral, religious, or spiritual. Because of this, it is both right and normal. Moral evils are harms or pain that happen because of the actions or lack of action of moral beings who are healthy and able to make their own decisions. Moral evil is when we choose to act against the good, and it can be caused by our bad intents or carelessness. Natural ills, on the other hand, are harms or sufferings that don't come from the actions or neglect of moral beings, but from things like stomachaches or earthquakes. In comparison to the broad sense of evil, we also talk about evil in a more specific way, which means the worst thing a person can do or think of. The word evil is used to help people understand moral, political, and legal ideas because it suggests moral judgment. Let us use real-life cases to show that having power and money might not always be a good thing. The Stoics say that both can be used for good or bad. What they do and how they work depend on how they are used. If you use your money and power in a way that is good, it will be good. You might be confused about how having power and money can be bad. Understand that a bad leader with a lot of money and power can hurt a lot of people. It's that easy, and the Stoics say that you always have the chance of becoming a ruler. You should set goals for things like health, money, respect, and creativity. As you start the day with goodness in mind, don't set these goals out of ego or greed. To make sure you are going in the right direction and not getting lost, this is a very important step. Sixth, there is the ethics of not caring, the real power of being stoic about not caring. Indifferent is one of the most controversial words that come from Stoic philosophy. Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus all said that to be a Stoic means not caring about anything outside of yourself. This means not caring about money, pain, success, hopes, dreams, or anything else. At first glance, this idea might have made you think that Stoics don't care about anything, since the current meaning of the word indifferent is to have little to no interest in something or someone. But this reasoning is wrong, doesn't make sense, and is dangerous. The Stoics didn't not care. They were just good at dealing with everything, no matter how bad things got. Does that make sense? Know that the goal was to be strong enough that things didn't have to go in a certain direction if there was a way out. While Seneca said, "It is obviously better to be rich than poor, high than low," the Stoic didn't care what fate did. Why? No matter what it was, the Stoic was strong enough to deal with it. This lack of interest is just learning the virtue of accepting what nature has in store for us as it creates and changes things over and over again. Our knowledge tells us that everything in nature breaks down and goes bankrupt, but everything is always made again. These things are known to the Stoic, who then doesn't care what happens to him in life. For instance, when it comes to living a life of tranquility and peace, health and sickness have the same weight. If the body is sick for a long time and there is no chance of getting better, the Stoic doesn't give up and doesn't care what nature throws at him. He maintains tranquility and peace, or he is happy in this way. And for a Stoic, being free means putting yourself above good and bad by not caring about right or wrong. A Stoic gains the virtue of neutrality by following the moral law of duty, which means following nature's rules without wanting to change its necessary paths and respecting its own goals, which are often mysterious and go against what people want. To show this kind of indifference is to freely and properly join in with what nature does. It means to live a life that makes sense and is in harmony with nature. Finally, this saying sums up the virtue of Stoic indifference. Do not wish that what happens happens as you wish, but wish that what happens happens as it happens, and you will be happy. Epictetus. 7. How your mind can change the world around you. Realizing that our ideas make our world is the last Stoic rule for a good life that we will talk about. We have no control over how the world turns out, and it's often wrong. However, we can pick the frames through which we see it. It's like putting on colored glasses. Everything will look dark and bad if you wear blue glasses. If you change how you look at things, you will see things differently. Your world is not shaped by outside events, but by how you see them. It is not the events that bother us, but our thoughts about them, Epictetus said. The yellow car thing is an example. When we pay attention to something, we see it everywhere. If you walk into a room and try to find blue things, you will miss the red ones because you are focused on the blue ones. This is also true in real life. There is inspiration in everything in life if you look at it with an open mind. When you change your view, you change how you see the world. I hope you understand how important this view of our thinking is, because it has to do with the deep pit we often find ourselves in. People sometimes fall into very deep wells without trying. They get used to it, which makes it cozy and stops them from trying to get out. It gets easier with time, just like everything else in life. You can change your mind, stand up to gloom, and take small steps to make your life better at any time. If you change the way you think, your life will change for sure. It is important to accept the rules of the world as they are, rather than fighting them and trying to change them. This is what Stoicism and the Roman ruler and scholar Marcus Aurelius both said. To find real happiness, you need to stop going against the stream. Rome was ruled by Marcus Aurelius from 161 to 180 AD. Many people remember him as the last of the 5 good rulers and as one of the most important figures in Stoicism. His philosophy of life is explained in Meditations, which was written as a personal diary and shows how Stoicism can be used to live a good life and run a good government. Marcus Aurelius placed a strong emphasis on logic, self-control, and the understanding that life is short and that we must live by natural rules and accept the things outside of our control. His works have become one of the most important records of old Stoic philosophy, even though Marcus Aurelius never thought of himself as a philosopher. The Stoics thought that the world was run by a supernatural reason, or logos. So, for the Stoics, happiness meant controlling one's emotions over reason. They thought that the emotions were a bad thing in the soul and that they needed to be managed because of this. As an example, we shouldn't always want things to go the way we want them to. Instead, we should accept things as they come up. Marcus Aurelius said that we should handle things in the outside world with flexibility while being strict with ourselves. Even though Marcus Aurelius said to live a happy life, most of us don't follow his advice. Instead, we expect our surroundings to always give us what we need to be happy. So, we always want nice people around us, good circumstances to make our dreams and goals come true, to stay young, and to live a happy life. We often don't like our bodies or the things we're naturally good at, but we still won't accept our flaws. Not surprisingly, there is too much want and not enough understanding of the way things are, especially now. Some very important things to know are that the more we want and expect from the world, the more likely we are to be let down. We will almost certainly encounter people who are not so good, despite our efforts and drive. We might not be able to make our hopes and dreams come true, or we might be able to reach some of them. Trouble will keep coming our way, and we won't be able to avoid old age, no matter how late we are in life. And if we let these things that are bound to happen bother us, we will become victims of our surroundings, people who are mentally dependent on having their needs met. Marcus Aurelius constantly told himself in his thoughts to accept fate as it comes and to live a good life no matter what. We will talk about why it is better to accept the universe's rules than to fight them and try to change them in this video. 1. Accepts other people. Say someone makes a joke that hurts your feelings about you or someone you care about. What would a Stoic think about this? Would he or she get mad or even hurt someone physically in response? Marcus Aurelius told himself that it was best not to stress out about something more than it needed to be. In this case, someone made fun of him and it hurt him. Marcus Aurelius thought that the joke couldn't hurt you. You are the only one who can make a joke hurt you, because these emotions do not go along with the joke itself. Emotions like anger, violence, and sadness can only grow if you let them. Add nothing from within yourself. and that puts an end to everything. Marcus Aurelius wrote about how to deal with people who criticize you. The idea that we have control over our own emotions and behaviors is a fundamental tenet of Stoicism. The joke about the rude person helps us understand how the Stoics dealt with tough situations. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most famous Stoic rulers, stressed how important it was to not respond hastily to things that happen around you. Instead, he told you to think about whether the joke could really hurt you. This idea brings us to a basic truth. We are only responsible for what we can control, like how we behave and what we decide, not for what happens in the outside world. Epictetus tells us to be sarcastic when someone says bad things about us. He says, if someone tells you that someone speaks badly of you, don't defend yourself for what was said about you. Instead say, that person ignores my other faults. Epictetus's advice that we shouldn't defend ourselves in spite of criticism also shows that worrying too much about what other people think is pointless. This doesn't mean we shouldn't care about what other people think, though. It just means we should choose how to react and not let other people control our emotions. Dealing with other people means dealing with things that you can't plan for or control. Some people are moral and good, while others are bad and not moral. There are people who are helpful and work hard, and people who are lazy and careless. Some people like to live in peace and treat others with respect, while others are quick to use violence and look out for the weakest. Marcus Aurelius stressed that everyone has the same basic human nature, even if they are cocky, ungrateful, dishonest, or rude. This same human nature is made up of a variety of traits, whether they are physical, like beauty and ugliness, or psychological, like courage and timidity. Marcus Aurelius gave us the courage to accept people for what they are and not get upset when bad things happen to them. Marcus Aurelius thought that we are here to work together, not against each other, because that would be against the natural rules. We always want other people to do what we want, but life shows us that other people have free will and act in ways that are not controlled by us. Even though we try to sway them, they usually do what they want and say what they say, even if it seems silly or illogical. It is therefore pointless to put in a lot of effort to change other people. It would be much better to use this energy on things where we have more control over what happens. Stoicism stresses how important it is to focus our energy on things that we can really change. People think that worrying too much about other people's actions is a distraction that keeps us from focusing on our own goals and health. We can have a more useful time if we work on our own growth and do things for the greater good. Understanding that things change over time is at the heart of Stoic philosophy, and Marcus Aurelius's words will always serve as a warning of how short life is and how beautiful the world is. The Roman Stoic ruler paints a beautiful picture of our lives as leaves that grow in the spring and fall away in the fall. He compares men to leaves in the wind. We are just brief entries in the great book of time. As the generations of men come and go, so do the leaves. This is a metaphor for how our lives are a small part of the never-ending circle of life. Marcus Aurelius talked about the great rulers and thinkers who lived in the past. He was talking about important and powerful people who lived on earth. It was inevitable that people who once changed the course of history would die, and like everyone else, they were turned into dust and ashes a long time ago. Just like leaves come and go, so do generations of men. We can't get away from this truth, which has been around for a long time and reminds us that all human greatness is temporary. We start out as a drop of sperm and breathe out our last breath before we know it. Our short lifespan is especially shocking when we think about how long our world and the universe have been around. For some, the reality of the transience of life can be overwhelming, but for the Stoics, this awareness of the transience of all things is liberating. Marcus Aurelius said, "Forget everything else. Keep control only over the things that depend only on you." It frees us from the false sense of control and asks us to value each moment as unique and special. Accepting that life is short doesn't mean giving up on it. It means accepting it with all of our might and living in line with our core ideals. It is Marcus Aurelius's advice that we should strive for virtue and always act with kindness and justice, because our actions and attitudes are where our real greatness lies. Stoic philosophy, which stresses self-discipline, self-control, and peaceful acceptance of things we can't change, can help us find inner peace and happiness in a world that is always changing and being unsure. In short, Marcus Aurelius's wisdom and Stoicism tell us how important it is to accept the rules of the world and not fight what is going to happen. Instead, we should welcome each moment with peace and thanks. Our job is to live with honesty and kindness and to make the most of the time we have been given in a world where everything is transient. There's no doubt that it can cause pain for most people. When someone dies, it makes you sad. The fact that death takes us back to darkness so quickly after we've come into the world. So, some people desperately try to hold on to life and find ways to make it last longer. Beyond their normal size, they are searching for the spring of youth. All of these efforts to go against nature are pointless because we are only given a short time, and most of that time is spent decaying. Instead of being angry about how short everything is, we can learn to enjoy the present, value what's important, and look for meaning in our short time here. Even though many people find it hard to accept that everything ends and that it will happen sooner or later, there is a good thing about the fact that everything is temporary. It makes us think about how nothing lasts and nothing is worth living for. As an example, Marcus Aurelius wrote, "But see how soon we are all forgotten, thanks to the infinite abyss of time that swallows up everything. Imagine the people who praise us, how sudden and random they are. Imagine the space of all those clapping hands. Then you will see how small the area is where everything happens. The whole earth is a point in the universe, in the cosmos, and much of it is empty." End of Q. It makes us value the time we have left more and worry less about small things, the more we perceive how brief and small our lives are. From a Stoic point of view, the fact that life is short is another reason not to waste time. At this very time, you can do anything you want. Philosophers of Stoicism say that we shouldn't see change as a bad thing, but as a chance to live more intentionally, to enjoy each moment, and to find peace in knowing that we are all connected to a bigger story that goes beyond our own time. Though people may wish that bad things would never happen, no matter how hard they try to stop them and how well their plans go, we all have to face the fact that bad things will happen to everyone. Adversity, difficulty, and pain are all a part of life. If we fight against them, we will feel both the bad luck and the sadness when we happen to run into them. It happens all the time, even though we wish it would never happen. People are always trying to stop bad things from happening to them against fate. That's how we get sick, lose money, or find rainy, cloudy weather when we thought it would be sunny. It's easy to spend our whole lives moaning and hoping that something better will happen soon. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman Stoic ruler, tells us to stop thinking this way and think more wisely. He advises us to pray for the courage and fortitude to deal with the difficulties that may come, rather than for a life free of bad luck. In Stoic philosophy, there is a basic idea called the dichotomy of control, which says that we have some control over some things and not over others. As a result, it makes sense to focus on the things we can change. As Marcus Aurelius put it, then, is it not better to do what depends on you as a free man than to be passively controlled by what does not depend on you as a slave or a beggar. So it makes sense to work on the things we can change instead of letting our conditions control us. You give up control of your life and become a slave to fate when you let outside events determine your happiness. Let's say you're always afraid your partner will leave you. You do everything you can to keep them by your side, but it won't help. All the work and pain you put yourself through will be for nothing. You need to understand that everything that happens is just the way the universe is and is out of our control. The Stoics say that we should accept life's events, no matter how terrible they may seem, as parts of divine providence or nature, and focus on how we react to them instead of thinking that the gods are planning them. As an example, the end of a relationship is part of heavenly providence. There is nothing we can do to stop it from happening. We can't control what our love partner does, but we can work on ourselves to make our minds strong enough to handle a possible breakup. When someone we care about leaves our lives, we can't stop them. We can learn to accept what happens to us, though, and we can even wish for things to happen because of something we do. No matter how much divine fate wants to hurt us, it won't be able to if we accept bad luck. When we worry about what might or might not happen in our lives all the time, we lose control when things change. The Stoics say that we shouldn't blame the gods or think that life is planned by them. Instead, they say that we should accept life as it is, as part of the natural order of the world. When bad things happen in life, they tell us to pay attention to how we handle them. So, if we learn to accept bad luck and become mentally strong, we can handle the ups and downs of fate. Our inner strength gives us the courage and peace to face any task, no matter what divine guidance has in store for us. Stoic philosophy gives us not only a way to deal with life's problems, but also a way to find real freedom and inner peace, no matter what life throws at us. Nature always wants things to change, because that's how everything starts and nothing stays the same. Not only does everything around us change, but so do we. Just think about how our cells are always dividing and making new ones until we die. Marcus Aurelius said that change is normal and good for everyone in the long run. We could say that the changes we see are like how our bodies are always getting rid of old parts and putting in new ones, something that might be bad for the parts, but good for the body as a whole. Similarly, our environment does long-term self-maintenance by changing old parts with new ones and always looking for the best conditions. Marcus Aurelius said that this is how nature's plan works, and we should accept it because it leads to the world's good health, as well as to happiness and wealth. But change is not the same as the idea of transience we talked about earlier. There is more to change than just the fact that things are temporary. Change is the whole process by which things become different. The world is always changing because it never stays in one place. Things that don't change, like a calm scenery or a rock sitting firmly in the waves, are still changing, even if it's very slowly and not as noticeable as, say, how our lips move when we talk or how a runner's stance changes. One type of living thing that comes and goes in 24 hours is called fleeting. Another type is the maybug. Some, like the glass sponge, live for over 10,000 years. Planets are the easiest example because they usually last for billions of years. Things like these will end one day, though. All of them were made by change, and change also takes them away. Our world and even life itself would not exist without change. As Marcus Aurelius put it, the world is nothing but change. But strangely, we are afraid of change even though we were born into it. Things, people, events, and ideas that many people hold on to in the hopes that they will never change or stay the same. But the change they are so scared of is already happening, and soon they will be able to see it with their own eyes. A storm is coming when the sun is out. Even though it's still summer, fall is already here. Keeping things the same is like holding on to water and hope it doesn't get too bad. Some of the things that are here now are already gone. The world is always changing and shifting, just like time is always moving forward and changing forever. We are in a river that is always moving. Accept your nature. A lot of people find it hard to accept things about themselves that are just the way they are, like how they look, their physical flaws, or even the fact that they will age and die. Marcus Aurelius, on the other hand, found the courage to accept his body's limitations and to be happy with his days. It was also important for him to remember the nature of the world and how he fits into it. He told himself that he was a part of nature and had to live in harmony with it. Some people are smarter than others, and some have better bodies. There are some ways to change our bodies, but in the end, we can only do what our bodies can do. We can focus on our flaws and try to do things we're not naturally good at for the rest of our lives, always wanting to get or be something. We can make this a passion, or we can focus on our skills and do what we're naturally good at. The Stoics stressed that our ability to think is something that makes us human. People are the only intelligent beings on Earth who can think logically. That something is alive means it can have emotions, thoughts, and awareness. It is the capacity to be aware of one's surroundings and to feel and think and perceive emotions. We can rise above our brute and animal natures thanks to our reasoning faculties. Because of this, we don't have to serve our emotions. We can use reason to beat them. Mark Aurelius shows us how he used reason to accept the world around him and the presence of good and evil, even though his animal nature told him that wasn't true. A person can choose to have this attitude. We humans can ignore our animal instincts and choose a better path because we can think things through. We don't have to mindlessly follow our wants. We can recognize them for what they are and understand that they can cause us pain. We can see that fighting against fate only makes us suffer instead of being slaves to our wants and dislikes. Based on what we know about how things work, we can say that it is reasonable to accept the things we can't change, even if they are bad. Sixth, be okay with pain. It was Marcus Aurelius who said that the mind ruled over the soul. As a real Buddha once said, there is certainly nothing that precedes the mind. This quote from a Stoic philosopher seems to fit with Buddhist ideas. Buddha said that your mind is everything, and that what you think about, you become. What we think makes us who we are. Joy is like a cloud that never leaves us when our minds are clean. Do not think about the past or the future too much. Instead, keep your mind on the present. That is, how we feel is determined by how we think. For instance, if we are in physical pain, fighting it can make it worse. As for agitations of the flesh, both mild and violent, it is still not clear what he meant by that. But it looks like this line is about physical pain and how the mind affects it. For instance, most people are scared of the thought of getting hurt, and we do everything we can to escape that pain. Unfortunately, life doesn't promise us that we'll never suffer. It's possible that at some point in our lives, we'll get sick, have an accident, or be the target of violence. Mark Aurelius said that nothing can happen to anyone that they can't handle. Most of the time, this is outside of our control. Pain is a natural part of life, but we can choose not to feel pain that isn't caused by the outside world. The amount of extra pain we feel relies on what we think. They can get into your thoughts through the emotional link between the mind and body. Don't try to fight the feeling. You should feel that way, but don't let your mind start to judge it as good or bad. This is the end of the quote. Marcus Aurelius makes a distinction between feelings and real pain. The first one is a natural phenomenon, while the second one is something that people make up. In this case, we could say that the feeling of pain is not necessarily suffering if we don't think of it as something bad, and instead see it as a normal thing that is neither good nor bad. Then, pain will be seen as something bad that can't be avoided. Some people say that pain is bad enough as it is, so why make it worse? Marcus Aurelius wrote about agitations of the flesh, but his ideas can be used to explain other kinds of pain as well. It's not the attack itself that hurts us, but how we think about it. The things we judge are based on what we believe. People will get angry when they insult us if they think that no one has the right to do so. We are less likely to feel hurt by insults if we believe that they are a normal part of interacting with other people and that we have no control over what they do or say. It was Marcus Aurelius who said that we don't find evil in people's minds or in the way the world changes. We find it in how we can see it. Seventh, be okay with the way things are. Don't try to change things that can't be changed. Some people seem to be affected by almost everything they see, including the news, their neighbors' problems, or what goes on at work, and they live in constant battle with the world around them. Some of these people can't stop moaning about how bad things are in the world. In the worst cases, they've come to believe that it would be better to die than to live on this awful earth we call Earth. Our views probably don't match up with reality if we live in constant disagreement with the outside world. Often, what we believe is completely different from what is true. We need to change what we believe right away if we want to stop constantly fighting with our surroundings. Stop expecting so much from the world. That's a great way to start changing. As a matter of fact, Marcus Aurelius says in his thoughts that asking for the impossible is crazy. We can't expect to get something that we can't get. The only thing that is certain about asking for the impossible is that it will not work at all. But sometimes, even in small ways, it seems like we always ask for the impossible to happen because we want things to happen in ways that aren't possible in this world. This often happens to people who are what are called empty optimists. These are people who are filled with hope and confidence in a future that is almost impossible to achieve because they haven't put any time, planning, or effort into it. Know that hope and faith aren't bad in and of themselves, but they can be harmful if they aren't in line with reality. The only reasonable outcome is disappointment. If you want only good luck, you're asking for the impossible. It is impossible to wish that you will never get sick, be insulted, or be laughed at. These things are under our control, just like waves hitting a rock. If you have high hopes, life will never live up to them because reality never meets them. Marcus Aurelius blames providence over and over again. From a Stoic's point of view, providence means that natural forces plan everything that happens. So, everything we think is wrong is done on purpose and is, therefore, just the way it should be. Some people in this world are dishonest, cocky, selfish, jealous, and have no shame. So do vice, virtue, happiness, sadness, good, and evil. It would be strange to want something different. Marcus Aurelius said that when someone is dishonest, you should ask yourself, is it possible for there to be no dishonest people in the world? Don't ask for something that can't be done. The answer is no. You have found one of the dishonest people in the world, so don't fight it. That should be used for mean, unreliable, or otherwise flawed people. Trust me, as long as there is life, there will be sickness and death, and as long as there are people, there will be broken ones. If you don't ask for the impossible, you give up on changing the world. No matter how hard you try, you're not strong enough to beat the world. If we agree to this condition, we will understand why it's good to drop our hopes. And there will still be something that can hurt us if we don't want things to happen the way we want them to happen, and instead want them to happen the way they should. Eighth, accept what will happen. People worry and even have bad dreams about what will happen tomorrow because they are trying to predict the unpredictable, which often doesn't change. It's because of this situation that we understand that the conditions we set for the future to happen determine whether we like it or not. We're afraid that the future won't live up to our hopes. One example is that we worry about losing our job because we want to keep it in the future. Another example is that we want to be famous in the future, so we worry about not being famous. No matter what, we will still be unhappy if the future we imagined doesn't come true. It will also be unhappy if it doesn't give us the people and things we want. It's always outside factors that determine how we feel, and we have no control over them. People have always connected their mental states to what's going on in the outside world. So we spend our days trying to find outside sources of happiness and staying away from outside sources of pain. But if we do that, our pain will never end because we can't trust the outside world. Because of this, we live our lives worrying about things that don't make sense and wondering things like, will fate grant my wishes or not? Will the gods keep us from having to suffer? Will I have enough cash to buy the house of my dreams? And a lot of other wants and fears keep taking up space in our minds. That means there are two ways to solve this issue: connecting a state of mind that is peaceful or warlike to something outside of oneself. We could try to change fate in some way to get exactly what we want. That way, we wouldn't have to worry about not getting what we want. The Stoics, on the other hand, knew that this was impossible because people can't change fate. The second way is to really want what you want to happen. Epictetus says in the Enchiridion, or manual, that you are crazy to wish for your children, your wife, and your friends to live forever because you are trying to control things you can't. You want things that belong to other people to be yours. In the same way, you are stupid if you want your servant to be innocent, because you want vice to be something other than vice. You can control whether or not your wants are met, though. Do what you can control, because fate is in charge of everyone and can give or take away what a person wants. So, anyone who wants to be free and doesn't want anything should reject anything that rests on other people. Otherwise, he will have to be a slave. This is the end of the quote. The Stoics said that we are truly free if our happiness does not rest on what other people do. There is nothing that will bother us. What can we worry about if we accept everything that the future brings? If you don't already know, the Manual or Enchiridion is a book about how to live a good life. Because of this, we can be good, live freely, and be happy no matter what. It is a short outline of what the Stoic philosopher Epictetus said. In today's world, Stoicism is very useful. In the middle of a confusing and unclear world, it offers a place of tranquility and, most importantly, teaches us to accept the things we cannot change and focus on the things we can. There are many things in life that we can't control. You can find peace even when things are going badly if you work on your inner power. Stoic philosophy tells us to live in the present and be thankful for what we have. For happiness, Stoicism teaches us to enjoy the little things in life instead of relying on things. The philosophy of Stoicism tells us that real happiness lies in our wisdom, virtue, and good, important relationships with other people in a world that is crazy about shopping and the desire of always more. If we follow the Stoics' rules and do their practices, we can face problems with courage and determination, see problems as chances to grow, and stay true to our beliefs even when things get tough. Also, they tell us that we can choose how to deal with problems and that our mood is the most important thing in getting through them. So why should you learn and use Stoicism? Because it's like having a map that will help you find happiness and health inside, even when things are going badly. We live in a time when stress, pressure, and fear are all the time. In the middle of all this chaos, this philosophy can help you find peace within yourself. You can learn these things from Stoicism. A lot of things you will never be able to do or master are taught to you. You also learn that you are the only one who can control what happens in your inner world. Being Stoic will teach you that you can't change the past or the future, but you can choose how to deal with the present. It takes courage to be thankful for the little things in life and to find beauty in them. Finding happiness in what you already have is another benefit. It frees you from the constant chase of success and material things. Stoicism will give you the strength to face problems with courage when things are difficult. You will be able to get through hard times and stay true to your values. You will learn to see problems as opportunities to learn and not let them beat you. Also, what you're learning will make you more kind and humble. This is a balm for you and everyone else in a world where people are being separated and treated badly. We are all from the same species and are going in the same direction. That's why being kind and respectful to each other is so important. Stoics show us how to love and care for others, which helps us form deep connections and advance social harmony. In the end, Stoicism is a way to live a real and complete life. As it shows, happiness is not dependent on outside factors, but on your own goodness and wisdom. So you can live a full life in harmony with yourself and the world around you. It urges you to find a balance between your interests and your duties. People often say that we pick our friends over our family. You made a good choice if that's true. That being said, my friend, how do you pick the good and bad friends that come your way? Actually, I might be saying something very obvious when I say that you should pick good friends over bad ones. I know it seems silly how clear it is, but you might not be doing it right even if you already know it. Like Seneca says, we should be careful about who gets to enjoy our company. That makes sense. How do we do that, though? Let me give you an example. Let's say you meet someone who is friendly and easy to talk to. You also notice that this person likes spending time with you and does things that friends do, like call you to events and give you gifts. And because this person is known for being lazy, they will sometimes leave you behind in school or college when you are doing group work. In the same way, they don't go with you to important events or help you with anything because they're lazy or want to treat themselves. But they're still fun and friendly, and they love being with you. Should you stay friends with them? To put it another way, it might seem simple to choose, but watch how your friends act. Take a good look at yourself and decide if you should keep these friends. There are times when we have to stay with someone because they say they are a good person and they like being with us. I don't think that's right at all. You don't have to keep up that friendship. A friendship should help both of you grow, whether that's in an emotional, moral, business, or other way. Keeping agreements is something that some friends taught me, while others taught me the value of waiting, getting up early, keeping my word, and other things. I have to say that all of this is very hard for me, so I feel like I have to keep being friends with these people. But I've also had friends who didn't help me, and, worse yet, who made me more lazy, careless, and so on. That group of friends is not something I want to keep. Some Stoics are very kind and thoughtful, good people, but their lessons are realistic and meant to make our lives easier and more livable, even when bad things happen. One way to do this is to be close to people who make you better and people who you can teach. This may be why the ancient and modern Stoics were so dedicated to promoting the common good and advising us to always be close to our teachers and students, often becoming great friends with them. Stoics believe that a wise man should be able to take care of himself, but everyone, wise or not, likes to make friends. No matter how independent he is, the smart man wants friends, co-workers, and business partners. So, for Cicero, friendship is not something that the Stoics have to have. It's something they want, a will to serve, to help, to share moments and knowledge, and to grow together on this trip. Friends are people we choose to be with us because they give us a chance to put our sense of society into practice in a more personal way and to practice the common good. This brings us back to the idea of sateya, which means that we are all linked and part of a whole. Having friends is natural because of this. You are drawn to bonds by natural forces, not your own selfish wants. Seneca. For Stoics, friendship is not about getting something, but about sharing something. Getting friends for practical reasons is short-lived, and the friendship will only be seen as good as long as the return is promised. Seneca said that these goals are not good reasons to try to make friends. So why do I make a friend with a man? To have someone for whom I can die, whom I can follow into exile, against whose death I can stake my own life and pay the pledge. Later, the friendship you describe is more of a deal than a friendship. Just think about what's best for you and see what happens. Seneca. The Stoics say that we shouldn't be friends with everyone we meet. We should think about it and maybe even not trust them. But once we've made friends with someone serious, we should trust them and follow the Stoic rules for that friendship. We will have friends for life if our assessments are right. We can also rethink every once in a while. When we do this, we don't judge the person we're friends with. We judge our own judgment in making that choice. Paths can also split between us and our friends. We shouldn't stay in a friendship that doesn't support our growth. This is something that should be handled gently. Let's look for friends who share our values, be honest with each other, learn how to give of ourselves, and be kind to those we can't change. We should accept them and share our life with them if they are true friends. We are now going to talk about how to spot fake friendships. This is a very important subject because as social beings, we naturally value friendship. We are born open to making friends and looking for them. But the world we live in is full of traps, and it's not easy to tell the difference between a true friend, someone who really cares about us, and a false friend, someone who cares about us but isn't strong enough to help us when we need it. Friendship is one of the most important things in life, and this is a serious topic. Due to this, I have searched for ways to tell the difference between a real friend and someone who is just pretending to be one. It's important to know the difference between friends who want to help us through hard times and those who will leave us because they're weak or don't care. Sometimes we pick the wrong person as a friend because we don't have the right qualifications. The person might not even be thinking about being a friend or wanting to try to be one. The following thoughts come from a long period of learning, both in the real world and in the classroom. When it comes to theory, I've paid a lot of attention to old writings, especially those by the Stoics. I think they can show us truth more clearly than modern texts, because modern texts are always limited by political and religious beliefs that make them dumb. But let's get back to the subject, friend. The point of this video is not only to help us tell the difference between weak, fake, and real friendships, but also to help us become better friends. One way to tell if someone is a fake friend is by asking them what they want from us. When a fake friend comes up to us, they want something other than company. We can divide fake friends into two main groups: those who try to control us through flattery and those who want to control us through shame. Plutarch, a Greek historian and philosopher, wrote in How to Take Advantage of Your Enemies that many friends don't criticize our flaws because they don't want to hurt our feelings. So, we should pay extra attention to our enemies, who will tell us what they really think of us without fear of hurting our feelings. Someone who wants to control us through shame, on the other hand, will try to trick us by making us feel bad about ourselves or guilty. Both types of fake friends are only interested in themselves and not in our friendship. To spot a fake friend, it's important to look at their actions and intentions instead of just hearing or seeing what they say. Genuine love, a desire to help and support each other through hard times, and mutual respect and loyalty are what make a friendship real. We need to be willing to hear these complaints and use them to improve our work and get rid of the problems that were pointed out. We should also encourage our friends to do the same. That's why we need to practice the Socratic state of ignorance. We need to be aware that all human wisdom is unstable and that what we know isn't even close to what the world knows. The flatterer is hard to spot because they wrongly make us feel better about ourselves by turning our flaws into virtues and making our virtues stronger. Such people are called concordinos because they agree with everything we say and act like they have the same thoughts and feelings as us. When people praise us or agree with us, we should be careful of the happiness we feel. To tell the difference between real and fake praise, we need to be skeptical of these signs. In his Enchiridion, or Guide, Epictetus makes this very clear. He doesn't criticize, blame, or complain about anyone. He also doesn't say anything about himself, like what he knows or who he is. He criticizes himself when something gets in the way of him doing something. When someone compliments him, he laughs at that person. He doesn't protect himself when someone says bad things about him. He lives like a sick person, being careful not to move a hurt part until it's fully healed. He gets rid of all desires and only hates things that go against humanity's natural tasks. To do everything, he uses the quelled urge. It doesn't care if it looks stupid or clueless. He keeps himself safe like an enemy who is planning to hurt you. The cunning enemy that Epictetus talks about is our pride and love of ourselves, which keeps us from seeing who we really are. Again, the Socratic state of unknowing is very helpful in this case. We need to understand that we don't really know anything and that anyone who flatters us is not seeing things the way they really are, even if they mean well. This will help us look into those who praise us more clearly to try to figure out what they really want. Also, acts of love are often fake and a sign of betrayal. Remember that a kiss betrayed Christ. 3. On bad friendships. Now, let's look at how weak friendships work. An old saying from the 4th century BC Greek poet Praxilla says, "Friend Admetus, learn history. Try to know the brave, stay away from the cowardly, for cowards have little gratitude." The word admeto means indomitable, and in Greek mythology, he is a king of the beasts in the city of Thessaly. Admetus was an Argonaut and took part in the hunt for boars in Caledonia. The gods let him come back from Hades after he died, as long as he could find someone to take his place. Only the man he loved, Alceste, was willing to save him. When Admeto woke up, he found out that in order for Alceste to come back, someone had to take her place in Hades. His old father wasn't ready to help him, though. The old text tells us a harsh truth. There are times when someone really cares about us as friends, but if his personality is fearful, he won't be able to help us through a tough time because fear will speak louder. Because of this, we should check to see which of our friends are controlled by fear, because we will not be able to count on them when things get tough. You find true friends by what they do, not what they say. What people do, not what they say, tells us who our real friends are. People who really help us in our everyday lives, and when we're having a hard time. When we look at things this way, we learn that many of the people we barely notice are actually our friends, while many of the people we think of as friends are actually fake friends or don't care about us in our daily lives. Our friends are those who support us in our work, who prepare food with us, go shopping with us, clean the house with us, are always with us, support us when things go wrong, and stand by our side when our enemies enter our life. As Aristotle wrote in the philosophical work Nicomachean Ethics, this means getting through hard times and being angry with us for a long time, as long as it takes for a bag of salt to run out in a house. That is, time and hardship can make affectionate bonds stronger, but they can also weaken and break. That being said, People who have never lived with us, been with us more than a few times, or don't share our reality or day-to-day life are our colleagues, but we shouldn't mistake them for our true friends. Other people, co-workers, acquaintances, neighbors, and passers-by should be seen for what they really are. Our fellow humans, who often have less in common with us than other animals or trees, but who we should still treat with respect. Romantic dream is another type of illusion that keeps us from telling the difference between real and fake friends. This is when we think that someone loves us because of something about us that makes us unique from other people. This is a lie, because we are not unique or unreplaceable. We are all of us. And as Roman ruler and philosopher Marcus Aurelius said, "Soon we will forget everything, and soon everyone will forget us." Take a look at the present moment. Tomorrow we will definitely be a picture on someone's table. After that, not even that. There are a lot of religious people who think that emotional bonds are spiritual things because they are made between unique people, and bonds make people unique. According to the Stoics, relationships start between mothers and girls, then within the family, and finally between people who share ideas and works. Our family. We need to be very clear about the difference between real and fake friends, but we shouldn't keep anyone from feeling the love of friendship. In real life, Stoics think that bonds of love can reach all people. This is something we will never understand, but we must keep the way open for people so they can join the group. Let's think about the idea that real friendship between people is just living together, working together, and helping each other. It's not true that some people deserve our help and support more than others because of a claimed magical love or because of their religion, ideology, or views that make them stand out. Every person deserves our friendship and help in the same way. Let's start with the people closest to us. Your town, your home, and your friends. Have faith. The universe is full of people and things. Caesar Marcus Aurelius, a Stoic thinker, told us that we should take care of ourselves and not depend on other people. Marcus Aurelius had to do this because all of his close friends had died around 160 AD. The supreme good does not require any practical assistance from outside. It develops at home and arises entirely within oneself. Seneca also tells us that this is why, despite being self-sufficient, he still needs friends and desires as many as possible, but not in order to live happily. If good people look for any part of themselves outside of themselves, they let luck play with them. The wisdom of Stoicism comes from Seneca's Letters to Lucilius. For us, it's just a thought that helps us, not something that we've fully reached. The guide stops at some ports, just like when following a directing star. They don't have to keep following the star forever. Using Seneca's quote to describe all people, we can say that even though we are naturally drawn to love and friendship, these things aren't always within our reach. In this case, we need to remember that we are cosmic people and are part of this big cosmic group by birth, no matter what we do. So, we are related to the dogs, the birds, the trees, the mountains, and everything else. We're never really by ourselves. Adult people experience loneliness only in their minds. As we've already said, beliefs divide us. The beliefs we hold dear separate us from our friends, and those who question our beliefs are seen as enemies. But our ties with other living things and animals are much better and kinder. A lot of animals are naturally friendly, which is why cats and dogs get along well with both people and animals. It smiles at us and holds us close like a mother, like when we're on the beach, in the yard, or in the mountains. Our bodies are a part of nature and will be with us until the day of our death, whether we are alone in our room or observing the stars. Our soul will always be in a state of happiness and tranquility if we understand this, and we will never be alone. Seventh, friends break up. Friends may stop being friends if they start to support ideas that are different from ours. The same way we can change our beliefs, so can the beliefs of people we know. It's common for friends to grow apart when their ideas change about things that are important to them and form the basis of their outlook. For instance, we don't know that friend who all of a sudden turns into a political or religious extremist. As Epictetus says in Diatribes, we are the ideas we agree with. Our views are the only real things we own and can't be taken away from use. It is normal for friendships to end in these situations. This is not a tragedy, it is a fact of life. Everything in the universe ends. Still, it's normal to feel sad when relationships end, but time and thought will help us get over it. That means we need to move on and make new friends. But we shouldn't believe everything above just because it says it. People are flawed, and most of the time, interactions between people are uncertain, except for those between parents and children. That is to say, no friendship is perfect, and we may sometimes make a friend look good or make them look bad. When we are very passionate about something, we might get lost and not know how to value a friend at that time. We might also let them down by making a mistake or being weak. This video's goal is not only to help us tell the difference between weak, fake, and real friendships, but also to show us how to become better friends. When we want to make our friends happy, we sometimes give them too many praises. Epictetus, on the other hand, writes in his work that the real wise person doesn't praise anyone. This means he doesn't get caught up in being fancy to make other people happy. Instead, he looks for the right words to say what he really feels about something. For instance, it's not true to say that a book is special. It's better to say that it is original, important, and relevant. We don't just praise it. We say what we really think this way. The same goes for feedback. For example, why not carefully point out what's wrong with a piece of writing so the author can fix it? According to the above factors, we must first look at how often something is said. Is someone praised all the time? Is someone being abused all the time? Does someone let us down over and over again? On the other hand, good friendships can start with any kind of interest, business, sexual, or social. No matter what the situation is, a natural draw can happen, and not every friendship has to be a friendship with a capital letter. We could say that Epictetus, unlike the classics, started to question this idea of the perfect friendship between the Greeks and the Romans. Epictetus seems to stress that all people love each other a lot when he talks about the feast that is social life in his work, Diatribes. Don't look for the perfect friends. Instead, look around you to find the real ones. Not good words, but deeds, attention, and daily care show that they are genuine. The clear situations, the breaking points, are what break up ties. These points may become clear after a long string of signs that we usually ignore but can't stand anymore, or they may become clear all of a sudden when we're being teased and our jaw drops. There is a chance that we have lost our friend. Vinicius wrote a beautiful poem called Suddenly that spoke of the same moment. Laughter turned to tears that were quiet and as white as mist. Foam came from lips that were joined together, and shock came from open hands. Suddenly, the wind blew out of the quiet, and the last light went out from the eyes. Passion turned into presentiment, and drama grew out of the still moment. Almost all of a sudden, he started to feel sad, and the lonely became happy, the close friend became far away, and life turned into a traveling journey. Right away, not more than right away. Finally, we should be happy to look for company and help each other out, without judging or hurting each other. I'm kind, and I love giving things to friends. In Nietzsche's works, Zarathustra talks about himself in terms of being a friend. Being kind is a sign of a good heart, but being rude is not. There will be times when we are ignored or lied to, but let's keep our souls until the end. The person who did wrong is now a wrongdoer. He has judged and punished himself. Let's forgive our friends if they say they're sorry after making a mistake. If they don't do it on their own, they might not know what they did or be too embarrassed to tell us. Let's go talk to them and give them a chance to say sorry. If they don't say sorry and act haughty, it's time to say goodbye. When life plays tricks on us, we let down our guard. So we ask our friends for help, and if they're honest, they do. On the other hand, we all need to do our best to be self-sufficient. Without a doubt, we will never fully understand anyone, and there will always be setbacks. We can only keep being friends with the universe and be grateful for what the gods have given us. We may not have a friend tomorrow for a number of different reasons. Today, we have someone to talk to and share with. Let's enjoy our friendships while they last. Sometimes they only last a coffee or the moment when a stranger smiles at us, and other times they last months, years, or even decades. Almost never do they last a lifetime. No matter how good a judge we are, everything about being human is unclear. Life happens, and we don't fully understand it. Different people do their own thing, and someone might like what we do and want to talk to us about it. The time goes by and never comes back. The Latin phrase memento mori is a powerful reminder of how short life is. It literally means, remember that you are going to die, and the idea behind it is that we should learn to live with death, the constant companion that we are. Where is there life after death? This is the big problem that people have been trying to fix for thousands of years. Maybe a more interesting question would be, how am I living the only life I will ever have? This is what I ask in this video. Yes, the main question is how to enjoy our life the most. How can I live it better? Because it doesn't help to think too much about what's coming up. We can only see what's in front of us right now, since we can't see what's coming. That's why it makes sense to think about the present rather than the future. If we knew the precise time of our death, we would live the same way. That's not good. We live as if it will never happen, as if we will never die, even though we know it won't. In other words, we don't value what that really counts. We don't use our time well. We put things off until later, which wastes our days and our life. As a way to solve this problem, memento mori is put forward. Now comes the question, how can I use this idea of memento mori in my everyday life? It's easy. Just think about death every day. It looks like you already know what this video is about. Let's talk about the idea of memento mori. How did it happen? How does Stoicism want to understand it? And I will give you some work to do. What does memento mori mean? The Stoics thought about death every day, which is what memento mori means. Just like I said at the beginning of the video, memento mori means, remember that you are going to die. But this message needs to be taken with some care. It doesn't mean we should be negative about life because we know we will die, but rather that we should enjoy every moment, do what we came here to do, and live in the here and now. This comes from an old Roman tradition. When a general marched through the streets of Rome after a victory, a servant would walk behind him and remind him of the limits of human nature. This was done to keep the general from getting cocky and pretending to be an all-powerful god and using his tyrannical power. It would mean something like, look back, remember that you are only one man. What a great time to be reminded of this. Now imagine that you have been facing a battle in another country for years and don't know when you will see your kids, your wife, or your friends again. When you get to Rome, will you be confident that you have won, reached your goal, and beaten your opponent? Remember that you are going to die. You are not immortal. You are not a god. Don't think you are better than anyone else, even if you just won, they say in your ear first. Stoicism is the best way to keep your feet on the ground. This may be the last time we live, as Seneca said. Tell me when I am gone. Tell me that you may not come back. When I return, tell me that you may not come back. When I go to bed, tell me that you may not get up. That may seem like a bit of an exaggeration, but it's really true. How should we understand this idea of memento mori? Thinking about death might seem like a bad idea at first. After all, who wants to think about death? That being said, what if we didn't stay afraid and refuse to accept this truth? What if all we had to do to live our best life was think about death? This is how I think we should understand what this memento mori means. Now, I'll give you a task. Think about the most important people in your life who have died, who were close to you, and who you loved. After thinking about your friendship with them, would you say you spent enough time with them, both during good times and bad? Don't worry, I'm not trying to make you feel guilty. Not at all. I want to wake you up. Imagine that you are going to have lunch with a close friend who is about to have a very complicated surgery. There are very high odds that the operation will not go well. What would you do if this was your last dinner with this person? What would you like to remember about it? How do you want to live? Would you be looking at your phone to see if there are any new messages, or would you be looking into her eyes, paying close attention, and asking more questions? Are you paying attention to your phone or TV during the meal? I remember one of the happiest dinners of my life with that person with joy and peace of mind, even though it was their last. If I didn't know about the idea of memento mori, I might be sorry for what I did today. Also, let's all think about what would happen if this were the last dinner I had with the person I love so much. How would I like to remember it? If you understand it right, memento mori is a tool meant to give our time value and meaning, so we don't waste it on useless and pointless things. There is value in life after death. It gives life meaning. We don't give our meetings and interactions much thought because we think they will happen hundreds of times. But it could be the last one when we least expect it, and then there's no point in sorry. Don't forget that. Enjoy every second with the person who makes a difference in your life, because you might not get another chance. Seneca flips the reasoning of memento mori, the warning that we will die, by putting the thought of death in the past instead of the future. Seneca says that thinking that we long for death is our biggest mistake. He also says that we are wrong to think that most of death is over. We think of death as something that will happen in the future, but a lot of it has already happened. Seneca is aware that a part of existence is death. He says that the ideal man, the wise man, must train himself to become aware of this state and, by extension, to no longer be afraid of it. Our life does not end with the last day, but rather with all the days we have lived before. Right now, on this day, we are dying, just as the hourglass is not emptied with the last grain, but with all the grains. That time will never come back. It will be different, but not this time. Why do we remember death? Even though it may seem impossible, we need lessons like this in our lives. We would rather not think about or act on that thought or idea, though. We try very hard to avoid it and act like it's not true. It is, though. Being afraid of death seems like a bad thought at first. Who wants to consider their own death? That being said, what if we didn't stay afraid and refuse to accept this truth? What if the only way to live a full life was to think about death? This is how we should understand what memento mori means. Let's pretend that we only recently understand that our time has come to die and that we have lived a bad life. Does anyone else feel like they've been through a worse tragedy than waking up one day and thinking what the hell they did with their life? As I work on this video, I wonder if this time will be well spent. Marcus Aurelius says in his writings, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think." Yes, of course, talking about death is my memento mori task for today. This makes me aware of it, and if you watch the video and become aware of it too, the return on my investment will be even greater. Because the truth is that you and I are both dying as you watch the video and read these words. We will cross the finish line whether we like it or not, whether we accept it or not. A hard thing about remembering death every day is that we don't see it. We know that we are going to die, but there's a part of us that doesn't want to believe it until we say 70 or 80 years old. Nassim Taleb, a writer, said that seeing a baby cry next to us is more shocking and upsetting than learning that every day hundreds of children die of hunger. This is because we only see the baby and not the other children. Death is the same concept. You may know the thoughts that go through your head when someone close to you dies. I have to live better. I have to make the most of my time. And there are thoughts that come up because you are seeing death up close. You feel it, even if it's not your own. But after a few weeks or days, the waves slow down and life goes back to normal. Someone once said, "Death is the only prophecy that never fails." Everyone is born with a death sentence. You never know when it may happen, but you know it will happen sooner or later. You keep forgetting that we are going to die. How are you going to live? Which scares you more, death or life? Here is an answer from Mark Twain. The fear of death comes from the fear of life. The man who lives fully is ready to die at any moment. I think that the best way to live fully is to think about death every day, if not several times a day. Use your time more wisely. Think about what makes you feel alive, what brings you joy, and what gives your life value. Do not let everyday problems and unimportant things distract you from what is important. Remember, memento mori isn't just about remembering that we're going to die. It's also about living fully and consciously, enjoying every moment as if it were your last. Living in fear of death is not what it means. Instead, it means accepting life with thanks for every moment and every person in it. Remember that you are alive and that you have the power to make the day important and beautiful every day. Love, live, and be yourself, because what counts most is not the number of years you live, but the life you live in those years. Finally, the memento mori is a strong warning of how short life is and how important it is to live fully and carefully. Love the people you care about and do what makes you happy every day as if it were your last. Death is unavoidable, but while we are still living, we have the chance to make our life meaningful and full of happiness. Don't waste your time on useless things. How come you think you'll remember your deathbed after you die? Really wished I had spent more time fighting on FB. Instead, you might think, I wish I had been braver and lived more deeply. What if you say you don't care now because you won't know when the time comes? I could be wrong. To this I would say that Australian nurse Bronnie Ware, who provides palliative care to people with incurable diseases and is with her patients in their last weeks of life, decided to share the thoughts they had before they died. Here are 5 of them. I wish I had done what I wanted to do instead of what other people wanted me to do. I wish I hadn't worked so hard. I wish I had spoken up more. I wish I had spent more time with my family. A lot of people talk about other people, their feelings, their bonds, and their thoughts. Even though death may be the only thing that is certain in life, we keep wasting time like we'll never die. People often put off doing important things because they think that life will always be there for them. However, everyone knows someone who changes their habits and starts taking care of themselves after getting a serious diagnosis because they realize that they might die sooner than they think. When that happens, they try to fix things. Please know that this video is not meant to criticize you. Instead, it is a message of support and inspiration. This video can be used as your personal diagnosis. You have a disease that will kill you one day. It's called life. It doesn't matter how long you only have 5 hours, 5 days, or 5 years left. It's important to start living right away. You might think I'm being weak, but trust me, when I say that, I am sure we are both in the same situation and that I have the same deadly illness as you. Stop putting things off and start living. The more you waste time, the more it kills you. How can we start to turn this around? Seneca gives us a hint on the brevity of life by telling us where time is going and what we have to do to get it back. We don't not have enough time, we just waste too much of it thinking about what Seneca says. Allow us to think that we look at our phones for 5 hours every day. We can put a price on it, as the wise Stoic suggested. How much is your whore worth? If it doesn't seem bad enough to us to waste our life that way. Take the number as an example. Every day, you'd waste 25. Every week, every month, every year, 8,400. It would be like throwing that much money into a fire and watching it burn. You could at least get it back at work, but you'll never get that time back. Remember the 5 things that people wish they had done differently before they died. Once more, ask yourself, do I want to live my life this way? Even though death may be the only thing that is certain in life, we keep wasting time like we're not going to die. We always wait to do the important things because we believe that life will always be there for us. However, why do we fear death so much? What makes it so bad? Death is awful because you won't get to see your child grow up. Death is awful because it takes away the chance to get old with the people you love most. When you die, you can't watch your favorite TV show anymore, which is awful. The answers to these questions are unique to each person. I haven't added anything else. Everyone should ask themselves these questions and then think about their answers. This will show you what you value most in life. The memento mori, a tragedy or a blessing. People usually look away and talk about something else when someone brings up death. They might also say that it would be better to talk about more nice things or change the subject. What's wrong with this is that it makes us forget reality, and when we ignore reality, we live in dreams that are much less real than death itself. Death is a blessing, in my opinion, not only because life itself has an end, but also because facing problems that we wouldn't dare to live through if we had endless life gives us courage. Here is an excerpt from Steve Jobs' speech. Remembering that I will die soon is the tool that most helps me make great decisions in life, because virtually all things, all external expectations, all pride, all fear of failure or shame disappear when you face death, leaving only what is truly important. You could be the next person to live in one of those places. Memento mori also pokes fun at all the things we use to put things off, like shame, fear of failing, fear of what other people will say, and fear of not trying something. All of these things don't matter when we think about the infinite. It's like everything else. It's easier to say than to do, but you need to work on it. The concept of memento mori must be put into daily practice. Memento mori's effects on other industries. Memento mori in art. Many artists were moved by the idea of memento mori to make sculptures, paintings, and murals that often had skulls, skeletons, and other death-related images. People could look at these works of art and think about death and their own lives. As a result, many churches put up this art to remember Christians that they are only human and to encourage them to work hard at getting ready to meet God. In his picture, depicting the 3 important components of existence, the tulip, life, the skull, death, and the hourglass, French artist Philippe de Champagne voiced a feeling very similar. The original picture is in a style called vanitas, which is art from the 15th century that uses death symbols to make people think about what life is all about and how short it is. Memento mori in dance and music. In old Europe, memento mori was also a type of requiem and funeral music, a theatrical piece that stressed the humanity and inevitability of death was known as the danse macabre, or dance of death, a subgenre of memento mori. Memento mori in literature. A lot of writing also makes you think about death. Shakespeare, for instance, wrote several plays about the subject. In a scene from Hamlet, the title character lifts the court jester's skull and laments that everyone, even the most energetic and live, is turned into a hollow skull after death. The idea of memento mori is the same in all of these ways of thinking, reflecting, and making art. To remember us of our death, to free us from worldly vanity and futility, and to inspire us to value and live life better. To help you live a better and more fulfilling life, I've put together 11 more short lessons on how to use the idea of memento mori. 1. Being thankful and appreciative. The ability to foster a profound sense of thankfulness and respect for life is one of the main advantages of choosing the memento mori philosophy. It's simple to overlook the wonder and beauty of life in our hectic and frequently stressed world. Thinking about our deaths helps us remember that we only have about 4,000 weeks left on this world. To be more specific, it tells us to enjoy every moment and find joy in the smallest things. A better and more fulfilling existence can result from this greater respect. 2 things: beliefs and goals. When we face our goals and values with the thought of death, a lot of the small things we worry about and do lose their meaning. We have to ask ourselves, am I really spending my valuable time in a useful way? What is important to me in my life, and what do I want to do before my time is up? Becoming aware of death can be a strong force for change, pushing us to focus on real relationships, personal growth, and making the world a better place. Realizing how short our lives are makes us want to live with more purpose and truthfulness, picking ways that are in line with our core values. This kind of thought can help us readjust our ideals and goals so that we can focus on what gives us the most happiness, satisfaction, and meaning. 3rd, live in the present moment. We are often concerned with thoughts of the past or the future, missing out on the beauty of the here and now. The idea of memento mori reframes our goals and urges us to live deeply in the present. Because we know that our time is limited, accepting our death gives us the courage to live fully in the moment. We have the courage to enjoy every moment when we realize how short life is. Instead of putting things off or waiting for the future to become clear, we can do this by enjoying the little things in life, showing love and thanks to those around us, and actively seeking out experiences that make our lives better. When we believe that every day could be our last, we are more likely to act on purpose and seize important chances. This attention to the present not only improves the quality of our life, but also aids in the creation of a memory that will outlive our physical existence. Being more aware can help us experience life more fully and honestly, which is good for our personal growth and strength. By showing us how short life is, memento mori also pushes us to grow as people and be strong. Instead of letting failures or fears consume us, we are pushed to face difficulties and challenges with a fresh viewpoint. In the end, we learn to see them as chances to grow as people and obtain greater wisdom. This way of thinking helps us learn from all of our situations, good and bad, and makes us more flexible and strong. We not only live with more present and purpose when we fully incorporate the idea of memento mori existence into our lives, But we also prepare ourselves to handle the expected ups and downs of life with more inner strength and calm. Get over your fears and worries. A lot of us are afraid of death, which can make us worry and stress out for no reason. By changing the way people think, memento mori can help them deal with this fear. We can learn to accept death as a normal part of life instead of being afraid of it. In addition to making us feel less anxious, this acceptance helps us make the most of the time we have and pushes us to live with purpose. It makes us make plans, take chances, and follow our dreams. If we really know that time is running out, we are less likely to put off our hopes and dreams. This feeling of needing to act quickly can be a strong motivation that helps us reach our goals. Cultivate sincerity and legacy. According to the memento mori philosophy, living with purpose inspires us to follow our dreams as well as to live a real and fulfilling life. We build a road that shows who we really are by setting goals and acting in line with our deepest desires and morals. This dedication to authenticity not only improves our own life, but also has a good effect on those around us. By living our lives based on our core values and following our real hobbies, we leave a mark on the world that will last long after we are gone. In this way, the memento mori is a steady reflection to live a worthwhile life, where every choice and action builds a rich personal memory. Encourage deep connections and empathy. The Mori Memento's main idea of transience inspires us to make our relationships stronger through true connection and empathy. Knowing that life is short makes us value the time we spend with others, which makes our mental bonds stronger. Understanding the inevitability of death can help us develop empathy and understanding, which can make us more sensitive and less harsh. You can improve your life and build a useful support network for now and the future by putting important relationships first. As a result, memento mori is not only a way to think about death by yourself, but it's also a way to get to know people better and keep those ties going. Reducing materialism. Practicing memento mori makes us less materialistic, and it changes the way we act so that it's not just about getting more stuff. We frequently get sidetracked from what's important in life in our chase of material good. Memento mori questions our society of consumerism by showing how useless material wealth is when you think about death. When we realize that material things are useless in the face of the inevitability of death, we start to look for other kinds of riches, the riches of human experience, learning, and mental and spiritual growth. This philosophy helps us stop focusing on getting more things and start focusing on getting more important events, relationships, and personal growth. This change in focus not only goes against the consumerist society that is popular right now, but it also encourages a better and more important life that is focused on things that will last and add to our memory and well-being in the long run. Accepting failure and learning from it. Thinking about death is a strong way to accept loss as a normal part of life. We can see loss not as the end, but as an important step on the way to learning and growing as a person with this philosophy. Accepting that failure is a normal part of life makes us stronger, more willing to learn from our mistakes, and less worried about what other people will think of us. We can take chances, push our limits, and grow as people when we do this. It also makes us stronger on the inside, which lets us try new things, come up with new ideas, and change. In a nutshell, memento mori shows us that every challenge or loss is a chance to grow in courage, wisdom, and fortitude. The awareness of mortality that memento mori fosters acts as a lighthouse that directs us toward a life full of meaning and purpose. This private thought helps us tune into our greatest wants and passions, providing us with an internal guide for our life choices and paths. As we gain understanding about what we truly value and desire, our actions and choices become more matched with our true selves. This honesty in how we live and talk about ourselves not only makes us feel good about ourselves, but it also makes our relationships and experiences better. Thus, Memento Mori is not only a warning of the finiteness of life, but also a call to live each moment with meaning and purpose, finding what truly completes and fulfills us. Building a long legacy. The thought of Memento Mori is not limited to our individual existence, but stretches to the permanent effect we can make. Thinking about what kind of memory we want to leave is encouraged by this philosophy. Questions such as, what impact do I want to have on the world? And how do I want to be remembered? Take on new meaning. Awareness of our finitude drives us to make a worthwhile addition to society, whether through our deeds, our relationships, or the lessons and values we pass on. By thinking about what we can leave behind, our time on earth takes on more purpose and meaning. Our values and influence will reach beyond our own lifetimes and affect future generations in ways we may never know. Like life, this video is over. It has come to an end. Thank you for your time, and if you liked it, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and tell me how you plan to put this Memento Mori idea into practice, or how you already do it. I also ask you to help me share the lessons of Stoicism with more people. So share it with your friends and loved ones. Take advantage of your time, because you will never get it back. Thank you very much, and see you in the next video.